So a little truck hack for you, at least a truck tip. So if you have these dumpsters, which are very common dumpsters if you're utilizing trash services, and you're wondering how to get it down to your driveway if you have a really long driveway like we do, well, the easiest way to do it, believe it or not, is simply lean it over the hitch ball. Now, I got grease on my hitch ball, but a lot of people don't realize you can simply take the handle, go like that, and your truck will pull it down the driveway, no problem at all, or whatever you have. It could be an SUV, it could even be a car. As long as you have a trailer hitch or a receiver hitch and a ball on it, you can pretty much just loop the handle around, even if the thing's full. And then you can daisy chain your dumpsters simply by taking bungee cords and connecting the handle to this little bar all the way down the line. So we've tried to figure out neat, innovative ways of making our life a little bit simpler, so we don't always have to grab like a mower or some other utility cart to move this thing down to the driveway. Or if we're getting home and I see that the dumpster's actually been emptied, then I can just throw it around the ball and pull it back. But yeah, it works really easy, and you don't have to buy anything if you already have a hitch. So gas versus diesel. Now, this is an interesting topic because, you know, my opinion on the two has kind of changed a little bit in the last couple of years. Now, for me personally, do I think I would ever replace my Super Duty with another Super Duty but with a gas engine? No, probably not. However, the real conversation exists now amongst people who are shopping for new trucks on if they should get a gas truck versus a diesel truck, because the price of diesel fuel has gone up so high, and really the premium you pay for a diesel truck hasn't really changed. You're still paying, you know, anywhere between $9,000 to $12,000 extra if you want the diesel engine option in most of your heavy duty pickup trucks. So when we talk about this specific topic, you know, we now have to introduce half tons into the conversation, because you're able to get half ton trucks and even SUVs with diesel options. And most of the time when you're looking at a diesel option and a half ton, you're looking at it for fuel efficiency, not necessarily towing capability. Even though they've made the trucks far more capable of towing than they've been in the past, again, you're still really getting one for the fuel economy aspect. So if you're looking at a half ton truck with a diesel option, you know, don't automatically assume that the diesel option is for more horsepower or torque versus like a 3/4 ton up truck where you get a diesel truck or a diesel engine specifically for that improved towing capability. Now, for folks who are actively looking to tow very, very heavy fifth wheels and toy haulers, you still really do need the diesel option. That's the only way you're going to get the package necessary to give you that towing capability over 20,000 pounds, especially if it's going to be a fifth wheel or a gooseneck. Now, if you're looking at towing a travel trailer, you know, diesel options are still a viable option if the travel trailer is getting really heavy. If you're getting upwards of that 9 to 12, 13,000 pound travel trailer, which tend to be very, very large, heavy travel trailers that hang off the bumper or the back receiver of your vehicle. So the biggest perks that you'll still get out of opting for a diesel heavy duty pickup truck are the fact that you're going to get better fuel economy when you're towing. When you're not towing, it's probably going to be very similar to a gas engine. So whether or not you opt for like a 7.4 liter, a 6.2 liter, or, you know, any of the other flavors of gas engines that are currently out there, when you're unladen or when you're not towing anything, when you're not carrying anything super heavy, your fuel economy is going to be very similar. Where diesel has a distinctive advantage is when you are towing heavy, especially if you're going to be going upgrade or even flat towing. When you're going downhill, it really doesn't matter because gravity is kind of helping you out regardless of what type of engine you have. Now, you start mixing in other things like gear ratios, because typically in a diesel truck, you're going to have multiple gear ratio options. The lower the gear ratio, or the numerically higher number, typically is going to provide you more bottom end torque, more bottom end acceleration, but at the same time, you're going to start hitting those higher RPMs the minute you get on the highway, and that's really where it's going to hurt you from a fuel economy perspective. Another big perk you get with a diesel pickup truck, specifically 3/4 ton up, is the fact that it's going to provide you more pulling power. And that's another big part of it. And when you couple that diesel engine with that lower gear ratio is really where you have the ideal towing combination. But the very legitimate question people have nowadays, especially if they're considering getting a larger fifth wheel, is, you know, do I need a diesel truck? And At the end of the day, some of it comes down to personal preference. Do you want a diesel truck? Some of it comes down to budget and economy. Are you willing to pay the $9,000 to $12,000 premium plus the increase in fuel costs, because diesel fuel is going for roughly $1 or more than its gas counterpart, and you're up in the $5 or even $6 range per gallon for a lot of folks, and that can get terribly expensive very quickly. Right now, at current fuel prices, when this video was filmed, I pay over $200 to fill my truck up, which is ridiculous. I've never lived in a world where diesel was that expensive. That said, I have a drive-around vehicle. I have a Ford Fusion that I can drive around when I'm not driving my truck. So it gives me the option of picking a vehicle that takes gas that gets 32, 33 miles per gallon over a truck that, you know, almost all the time I'm getting between 9 to maybe 11.5, 12.5 miles per gallon. That costs significantly more to fill up because it has a much larger fuel tank, and the price of fuel is so much more expensive. So if you're on the fence about if a gas truck is going to be enough for you, again, it comes down to personal preference. It comes down to what you're specifically going to be towing with that vehicle. If you're not going to be towing anything, then a gas truck is a perfectly viable option for you, and you may not even need to consider diesel. If you're not towing anything today, but then you might want to tow maybe a utility trailer, a dump trailer, or perhaps even a smaller RV under 10,000 pounds, then still a gas option is a perfectly viable option for you. You're still going to save a lot of money. You're probably still going to have to order that truck because dealerships just don't really carry anything in terms of on-the-lot stock anymore, unless you're very, very lucky, or you're just picking a truck nobody else wants. But if that's the towing range you're going to be in, then a gas engine is absolutely something you may want to consider, because it is really going to save you a lot of money, not just at the fuel pump, but also the truck in general. If you took my truck, which they don't make this truck with a gas option, but let's say an F350 dually King Ranch. You know, fully loaded King Ranch today, in today's price for a brand new truck, you're probably going to be in the mid 90s. $90,000 to $95,000 for a truck with a diesel engine. If you opt for that exact same truck with a gas engine, sure, you're not going to have the cool diesel sound, and it's not going to give you the greatest fuel economy when you are towing. You're probably going to see your fuel economy numbers down in the 8, maybe 7.5, 8 to 9 miles per gallon range, depending on how heavy you're towing. But that same truck, exactly equipped as my truck, or exactly equipped as a 350 diesel truck, if that's the only difference, your gear ratio is going to be a little different, but you're probably going to see about a $12,000 difference in price right off the bat. And then again, over the life of ownership, the length of time you own that truck, the cost savings in terms of diesel fuel, unless we see a huge decrease in diesel fuel price, you're going to be paying significantly more. Plus, you're going to have to keep up with things a little bit more often, such as your fuel filters. Your oil changes are going to be more expensive. You're going to get a little bit longer longevity and oil change cycles out of a diesel truck versus a gas truck. But in terms of overall cost of ownership, today's cost of ownership here in, mid 2022 versus yesterday's cost of ownership back in, 2017 when I bought my truck, it's astronomically different. The truck prices have, of course, gone up, but the difference in terms of gas versus diesel from a pickup truck purchase perspective is still about the same. Again, 9 to 12 grand. The main difference you're paying now is the difference in cost of oil, the difference in cost of gas, the difference in cost of diesel fuel. And that diesel fuel cost is a true consideration that you now have to factor in that you didn't before, or at least you didn't have to as much before. When diesel was $2.50 per gallon, or $3 even per gallon, it was a very, very, it was a very easy choice for a lot of people just to opt for the diesel option because the resale value and all of that. But I would argue to say that a gas optioned vehicle is still carrying a significant premium over what they used to. So you could have a gas 3/4 ton truck or a gas 1 ton truck, and the appeal from somebody to buy that vehicle, used or pre-owned, is probably as high, if not higher, than it has ever been in history. So if I had opted to get, let's say, an F350 single rear wheel truck, and I wanted to get it with the 6.4 or even the 6.2 liter gas engine, the reality is that vehicle probably still today would have a higher resale value than my purchase price. And that's a really, really cool world that we live in, that you can now make a gas option for your next truck and not necessarily think you're going to take a huge economic hit. I remember making a video probably 4 years ago on a Ford F-250 with a gas engine. It was a 6.2 liter. And at the time, you know, I said that this truck is a very hard truck for a dealership to sell because it's the gas option. Everyone wants the Power Stroke. But in today's world, that truck may arguably have more value to it than its diesel partner or diesel equivalent, only because of the price of diesel fuel right now. And again, if that price drops tremendously, if that price comes back down to what we expected it to be in the past, well, that'll all change. But when you go to the fuel pump and you specifically see a difference in how much you pay in fuel, and that difference is $50 to $100 more than what you used to pay, well, then a gas engine becomes a viable option for you. Just be sure, if you are considering a gas truck over a diesel truck, that you're not compromising towing safety by going that route, that you're not looking at it purely from, you know, the standpoint of, wow, I can get a dually, I can get an F-350, I can get a Ram 3500 or a Chevy or GMC 3500 HD pickup truck with a gas option. I'm saving 12 grand. It's a lot less expensive. I'm going to go ahead and hitch up a 20,000 pound toy hauler or a 16,000 pound fifth wheel or a gooseneck trailer that weighs 14 to 20,000 pounds and think that I'm going to have the same safety and towing experience that I would have with a diesel, because that engine exhaust brake that you get with a diesel pickup truck is a huge safety perk, especially when you're going downgrade and you don't want to rely purely on the truck's mechanical brakes to essentially stop the vehicle. The wear and tear on the brakes, the fade that you'll get on brakes going down grade, it's a big reason why a lot of semi-trucks get into accidents. Their brakes heat up, and just because the trucks look the same, just because the trucks may even have very similar brakes, very similar tires, everything might look the same, that diesel engine exhaust brake is a huge safety factor improvement that you're going to get with a diesel truck when you're going down grade or you're trying to stop and you don't want to put as much wear and tear on your brakes to avoid heating them up and possibly causing them to fade or fail. Anyways, guys, I sure hope this answers that question. I know a lot of people are on the fence. You know, they don't want to pay the premium in fuel that you're paying for diesel right now. But I don't want you to compromise safety. I don't want you to go the route of saying, you know what, we're saving some money in fuel, but we're doing it at the expense of a better towing experience. Now, if the towing experience is going to be marginally different, if, again, you're towing an 8,000 pound or a 10,000 pound travel trailer and you're not constantly going down mountain passes and down, you know, tall hills, then, you know, a 3/4 ton, a 1 ton, a dually gas option is perfectly viable for you as long as all the numbers are in play. Now, finally, and this is what people are probably waiting for, from a payload perspective, just by having the gas option, you've typically shaved off about 1,000 pounds of excess weight that a diesel engine would have over a gas engine, which means you get that back in terms of payload capacity. So if my truck had a gas option, my 4,800 and change pound cargo capacity would jump up to almost 6,000 pounds worth of cargo capacity, all because it had a gas engine. So you get a huge improvement in terms of payload capacity, but you generally get a deduction in terms of towing capacity. And again, we have to make sure all the numbers work because they're all equally important when it comes to safety. And I usually say payload capacity is more important, which if you have the towing capacity, then yes, payload capacity becomes the more important number. But if you don't have the towing capacity, having the payload capacity doesn't mean you're going to have a safer experience. So that's where, again, you have to look at all the numbers. It's very important to understand what your truck is capable of towing from a manufacturing perspective, what their engineers rated it as, but it's also very important to understand what the amount of weight your truck can carry over the axles are. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below if you have any questions or if you'd just like to tell me how much my information is great or not great. I'm always interested in hearing feedback from my viewers. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.